This week on Adventist News Network, the Church's official television network expands in Ukraine.
A new community center supports grandmothers raising AIDS orphans in Lesotho.
And Adventist conservation efforts in Myanmar are getting national attention.
These stories and more coming up.
This is Adventist News Network, a service of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church. Thanks so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, Adventists in Ukraine this week are welcoming news that the country's government has authorized broadcasts from the church's official television network. Hope Channel Ukraine is expected to begin broadcasting nationwide by November. Hope Channel officials say the move cements the Adventist Church's place in what is traditionally an Orthodox country.
August 14, 2012 was an exciting day for Hope Channel. Hope Channel Ukraine received a license for satellite broadcasting. This is not just a good news. It is a major and miraculous breakthrough because national regulations prevent any religious broadcaster from owning a license. There are no religious television channels in Ukraine, and there will be one now. With the approval of the license, the channel can legally enter 600 cable networks in Ukraine. Now Hope Channel Ukraine is working to reach 60% of the country's population. The launch of a full-time satellite channel is scheduled for November 2012, so mark your calendar. For more information, go to hopetv.org and click the button News.
Top Adventist executives say recent decisions by local church administrations to authorise gender-neutral ordination are a serious threat to the unity of the world church. A joint statement this week from the church's top 3 officers goes on to say that these decisions preempt an ongoing study of ordination. Church leaders and theologians are currently studying the biblical theology behind ordination, and results are due in 2014. The statement came just hours after church leaders in the Pacific Southwest United States voted to honour requests for the ordination of ministers regardless of gender. The Pacific Union Conference decision follows similar votes by church leaders in the mid-Atlantic US and northern Germany. Top church executives continue to discourage decisions that stray from world church policy, which currently does not authorise the ordination of women to ministry. They say world church unity is crucial as the church moves forward. You can read the full statement at news.adventist.org.
An Adventist ministry that supports grandmothers raising AIDS orphans in Lesotho is drawing national attention. The country's prime minister and other dignitaries attended the official opening of a community training center last week. The center offers support for grandmothers who are raising a second family at an age when income is scarce. By teaching income-generating skills, finance management, nutrition, gardening, and orphan care, the center equips grandmothers to help support the estimated 100,000 AIDS orphans in Lesotho. The center is an expansion of so-called grandmothers clubs launched in Lesotho by the Adventist AIDS International Ministry close to a decade ago. Through support from the ministry and the Adventist World Church's women's ministries, grandmothers now have a permanent space to pass down skills and values to a new generation.
More than 4,000 young people from South Korea, Japan, Mongolia, mainland China, Taiwan, Hong Kong and the United States met in Seoul this month for the Northern Asia Pacific region's first Pathfinder Camporee. Campers studied the Bible, fellowshipped and learned practical skills such as first aid, sign language, instrument making and traditional Korean crafts. Pathfinders also participated in exhibits and cultural programs. Church leaders overseeing the event challenged the young people to draw close to Jesus and share him with others. Pathfinders is an Adventist-sponsored club for 10 to 15-year-olds with more than 2 million members worldwide. The next region-wide camporee is scheduled for Taiwan in 5 years.
Adventist-run Northern Caribbean University in Jamaica has recognized the country's prime minister with an honorary degree. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller was granted a Doctor of Public Service degree during commencement services last week. In her keynote address, the Prime Minister thanked the Adventist Church for its contributions to development and education in the country. The Adventist Church in Jamaica runs a university, high school, hospital, and more than 600 churches.
The government of Myanmar has invited an Adventist to help study climate change and environmental management in Southeast Asia. Adventist Community Services Director Mong Mio Chan is joining conservation and forestry experts in Vietnam for a study tour and policy-making workshop. Adventist Community Services in Myanmar first drew national attention when it headed up a project to replant mangrove forests destroyed by recent tsunamis in the region. Chan says the church in Myanmar is also widely regarded for its humanitarian work through the Adventist Development and Relief Agency.
Adventists in Ghana are calling for peace before, during, and after the upcoming election season in the country. More than 1,000 church members ended a camp meeting this week with a march in downtown Sunyani. They urged their fellow countrymen to be tolerant of differing political opinions and not view political rivals as enemies. Previous election seasons in Ghana have led to civil unrest.
Coming up, we have a preview of the latest issue of Adventist Review. This week, the magazine celebrates a decade of ministry to its youngest readers.
There is a garden in every childhood, an enchanted place where colours are brighter, the air softer, and the morning more fragrant than ever.
Of all life's seasons, childhood is the most beautiful.
Children are the living messages we send to a time we will not see.
Blessed indeed is the man who hears many gentle voices call him Father.
A child can ask 1,000 questions that the wisest man cannot answer.
When I approach a child, I have two thoughts: affection for what he is today and respect for what he can become.
There are no 7 wonders of the world in the eyes of a child. There are 7 million.
Children are 1/3 of our population and all of our future.
He called a little child to him and placed the child among them. And he said, "Truly, I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me."
Welcome back. Here's Kimberly Moran with a preview of this week's issue of Adventist Review.
The August 23 Adventist Review cover story titled "The View from Here" is a special one celebrating 10 years of publishing Kids View. The article, written by assistant editor Walona Karamobadi and yours truly, tells the story of Kids View from birth to tween with details that haven't been published before. We also share some of our plans for the future. In case you didn't know, Kids View is the Adventist Review's magazine for kids ages 8 to 12 and those who always will be kids at heart. Help us celebrate Kids View's birthday by reading the article at www.adventistreview.org. Another article you should check out is Editor-at-Large Mark Finley's Biblical Spirituality. In this second article of 2, Finley addresses Christian meditation, spiritual formation, and what makes Adventism unique. Another interesting article is A Different Ministry by Julio C. Munoz, a client experience manager for Adventist Risk Management. Good stewards of the church, writes Munoz, must always be prepared. Find out how the organization does this by reading the article and others at www.adventistreview.org.
This week on Meet a Missionary, Tanya Holland talks to Sharmathi Shadrach. Sharmathi was raised in India and recently returned to minister to the Hindu community there.
Thank you, Sharmathi, for being with us today. I understand that you had a burden on your heart, that you wanted to go back to India to teach people about the gospel of Jesus Christ. And this recently happened for you. You got a chance to go back. Tell us the exciting thing when you got there.
Well, the exciting thing is, first of all, I'm not a public speaker. And when I went from here, when I planned to go, I was planning to only be a help at the meetings. But when I went, the Lord used me and I started preaching there. And I had a sister who was a Hindu who was resisting for 20 years our Adventist message. And she was there in the meetings and she heard me preach Jesus' love. And she accepted the Lord. And she was the first candidate to be baptized during my meetings.
That story touches my heart right here. And if it inspired you like it did me, please visit the website adventistvolunteers.org.
Now let's turn to Megan Bronner for this week's Adventist social media highlights.
This week, we asked our Twitter followers what they think are the most common things people get wrong about Seventh-day Adventists and their beliefs. Twitter user A. says there is confusion over the fact that Adventists are picky about what they eat, but it's actually a difference between clean and unclean. Delroy Brooks says he finds that people think all Adventists are vegetarians, when in fact they are not. Willie Orv is concerned that people feel Adventists don't care for Christians outside our faith. Mark Taylor finds that Adventists are frequently confused with Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses. Lynn Walker says a common misconception is that Adventists follow Ellen White and her writings only and believe they're superior to the Bible. Sarah Asafti also finds that people believe our religion is about diet, and she says some people also don't think Adventists believe in grace. And for Kathy B. Young, the question she gets most often is, why do Adventists observe Sabbath on Saturday? Head to our Facebook and Twitter pages to tell us how you address common misconceptions about your Adventist faith.
A new book by children's ministries leader Sorsten Mufuni offers practical Bible-based parenting advice. Tanya Muganda has more on this week's A&N Book Review.
Parents, inviting and guiding your children into the heavenly kingdom is your most important task. An excellent new resource is now available to assist you in this vital work. Written by Dr. Sorsten Mufuni, Parenting for Heaven is a much-needed manual that will equip parents and all those who work with children with the skills required to guide youngsters into a saving faith. With the focus always on cultivating spiritual values, the author shares reliable research, biblical wisdom, and personal anecdotes with insight and humor. Parenting for Heaven will help parents gain insight into important topics like the ideologies challenging Christian parenting, how to help your child develop a godly self-esteem, and empowering your child with the principles of Jesus. Just as important, the author highlights the need for parents to be spiritually anchored before they can establish the spiritual well-being of their children. What was Noah's parenting secret? How did Moses' parents, who only had a few short years of influence in his life, instill the values that were the foundation for his godly leadership? And what should parents do if, despite their best efforts, their child has rebelled? Answers to these and many other essential questions are explored in this attractive, practical book.
Parenting for Heaven is available through Africa Publishing Company. You can order a copy online at africacopublishing.com.
Still ahead on Adventist News Network, a woman finds a book in her backyard that changes her life.
But up next, this week's Tech Corner.
I've hit rock bottom. I'm at my wit's end. I've been searching, looking for something more. Some people stop here. Some people don't get up. But I haven't given up hope yet. And I know it's going to take faith.
Welcome back. Media expert Chip Dizard has our Tech Corner this week. He says Google Hangout is an ideal service to keep your congregation or your colleagues connected.
Google Hangouts lets you catch up with friends, family, or church members with live video. You can use the free service at home or on your computer or on the go with the Google Plus mobile app. You must have a Gmail account and log in to the Google Plus social network. Up to 10 people can join a Hangout, and you can stream them live on your YouTube channel with a free service called Hangouts on Air. When you use Google Hangouts, you can use screen sharing and collaborate on documents using Google Docs and view presentations and have live chat sessions while in the Hangout. Many churches and ministry leaders use it to conduct live elders meetings, committee, or board meetings. It has been used to share specific information from a pastor that can be linked on Facebook, Twitter, or embedded on a website. Getting started is easy. First, you must have a Gmail or Google account. Log on to google.com/plus. Click on the box to start a Hangout and invite participants who are online via chat. Once a Hangout is open, it will post to your Google Plus timeline, but as an organizer, you can restrict people from joining your Hangout. Google Hangouts are a free, fast, and easy way for real-time and team collaboration. Now with the ability to live stream to YouTube, the possibilities of reaching an audience is limitless. Google has made it easy, free, accessible to join and conduct meetings from anywhere.
As children begin watching television earlier in life, researchers are studying the connection between children's viewing habits and attention spans. Sostin Mifuni has this report.
In 1926, a Scottish gentleman brought into the world the first television set. And from that time up to this time, there are 1.5 billion televisions in the world. While television is a good thing, it has brought lots of concerns to many people. Researchers who have gone into this research of television, they tell us that in 1970, in the 70s, a child began to watch television when he was 4 years old. But now, as early as 4 months, a child is watching television. And it has been said that when a child watches television, at least for 1 hour before the age of 3, by the time the child goes to school by the age of 6 or 7, is likely to have lots of attention problems. For example, it has been said that 1 hour of television a day before the age of 3 may result into about 10% of attention span problems in class. Television is good, but watch out, be careful. You may just be preparing your child to have attention problems in the future.
The Church's publishing ministries is coordinating a worldwide distribution of The Great Hope, a book by Adventist Church co-founder Ellen White about God's leading throughout history. This week, we have a story from a woman who says the book changed her life.
Esse livro chegou na minha casa, ele foi entregue
por alguém que eu só conheci depois, algumas pessoas que eu não conhecia. Não sabia nem de onde tinha vindo o livro. Minha cachorra pegou o livro, minha cachorra Pitbull, e levou para o fundo do quintal. E um dia, num fim de semana, provavelmente num domingo, eu fui limpar o quintal e encontrei o livro jogado no quintal. Ele estava praticamente despedaçado, as páginas assim soltas, e o comecinho dele comido. Minha cachorra deve ter mordeu com certeza, comeu um pedaço. Graças a Deus ela não comeu tudo, né? E eu vi a capa do livro e eu levei para dentro e comecei a ler naquele mesmo dia. E aí a leitura foi maravilhosa, porque é muito explicado, muito coerente tudo que está escrito. Então eu fui acompanhando a leitura, fui lendo e fui me maravilhando com as verdades que eu ainda não tinha completamente conhecimento. O que me chamou mais atenção é saber que a gente pode aguardar uma vida eterna com Cristo, que nos ama tanto, uma vida sem dor, sem choro, onde eu poderei rever pessoas amadas que partiram em Cristo Jesus. Então, essa esperança de que nada vai acabar aqui foi o que mais me marcou no livro.
When we come back after the break, what to look for in the upcoming edition of Kids View.
All I could see was my husband's body just sinking to the bottom. That day, I will never forget. And that prayer was the hardest prayer I've ever said in my life.
For every 10 people that are converted to our church by reading one of our books, at least 90% of them come to our church by reading The Great Controversy. And we only understand why when we read this book. And when we are reading this book, we understand that the Great Controversy book is an invitation letter from God to His children that are living in Babylon. An invitation to leave Babylon and to follow Him.
Kids View is celebrating a decade of ministry this year. Wilona Karimabodi has a preview of what you can expect in the September anniversary edition.
Here's what you can look forward to in our September edition of Kids View. This is a very special issue as we celebrate our 10th birthday. Read all about how we got started and what we've learned along the way in a story that includes the kids who made us who we are. We've even got a recipe to try to make you part of our celebration. And as always, we've got our much-loved and highly anticipated Kids View calendar. You can read all this and more by going to our website at www.kidsviewmag.org, which you will soon see will have a brand new look to it, so stay tuned.
Now let's turn to David Trim for a look at Adventist history. This week, why the dime tabernacle in the U.S. state of Michigan was named after the country's 10-cent coin.
Welcome to This Week in Adventist History. On August 19 in 1878, the foundation stone of the Dime Tabernacle in Battle Creek was laid. The name was given because ordinary church members were invited to donate dimes, or 10-cent coins in America, for the project. The tabernacle seated 4,000 when completed, and it was a meeting place for large gatherings of Adventists until it was destroyed by fire in 1922. On August 21, in 1879, the first Seventh-day Adventist camp meeting in Canada opened at Magog, Quebec, led by A.C. Bordeaux and G.I. Butler. Butler was a former GC president, but Augustin C. Bordeaux was a French-speaking evangelist and pioneer worker in Quebec who was later a missionary to Europe. Quebec was an area of growth in the early decades of the SDA Church, but thereafter experienced stagnation for many years. On August 21 in 1898, J.F. Hunegard arrived in the city of Budapest from America, the first Seventh-day Adventist missionary to Hungary and to the Danube River Basin area. And on August 24 in 1874, Battle Creek College opened with 100 students. This followed an action in March 1873 by the General Conference session, encouraged by James and Ellen White, to establish an educational society and to raise money for a college. In 1901, it relocated to Berrien Springs, Michigan, and was renamed Emmanuel Missionary College, and in 1960, it became Andrews University. That was This Week in Adventist History.
Thanks for watching Adventist News Network. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
And if you haven't already, check out our ANN video podcast. It's the same show you're watching now, but in a format compatible with your iPod or other portable media player. You can subscribe by searching for Adventist News Network video podcast in iTunes.
Our good news for this week comes from Hebrews 12, beginning with verse 1. The passage says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith."
That's our show for this week. Don't forget you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.